Hey big family, it's Jonathan with the Soundstage, and we're here inside the MasterCard Center in Ukasong for a special live episode. Today we're gonna see Pet Shop Boys. They're touring the world and they stopped here in Beijing to promote the release of their new album. They are pop icons that have been famous throughout the planet since the 80s, and they're playing here tonight. We're gonna interview them exclusively right after this, and then we're gonna have some songs for you.
When we did the first concert the other night in Shanghai, we didn't know how people were going to react to it, whether they were going to know any of the songs. But I noticed that Go West did go down well. Mm-hmm. So I wondered, because that came out in 1993, which is probably when a lot of change started to happen in China.
Hey big family, it's Jonathan. We're here with the Soundstage, backstage at the MasterCard Arena in Ukasong with the Pet Shop Boys, Neil and Chris. Thanks for joining us. And welcome to Beijing.
Nice to be here. You could have dressed up a bit though, couldn't you? I mean, look, I can see your knees.
I didn't want to, overdress you guys, so I'm not trying to downplay it. But I did have this here.
Oh, I wonder what that was.
Maybe just put it there.
Okay.
So I understand that it's your first time to come to China?
It's our first public concert. We actually came to China a couple of years ago and we did a show at the Museum of Modern Art.
Okay.
For the fashion company Prada. We did like a half-hour show for them. But this is our first public concert.
So have you spent any time in China where you're not performing or on the road? Have you had time to travel at all?
Well, yesterday we got the high-speed train from Shanghai to Beijing, which was quite impressive.
Yeah, and on the previous visit we did the usual, Forbidden City,
Great Wall of China,
Wall, the Bird's Nest. And we found a bit of the old sort of town as well, feel for old China, which is
traveling in general, but especially it happens to be in China, people have a very different perception of what it is before you arrive, and then after, usually people think, wow, this is completely different. What were your impressions of China after coming?
Well, it's quite interesting because isn't as surprising as I thought it was going to be. I mean, we've travelled around the region quite a lot. And Asia, yeah, and so there are similarities, with Hong Kong and Singapore and Japan. There are definite similarities, particularly climate. Everyone seems to work very hard, unlike we lazy British. So you can see similarities across the region.
And what were you expected to be surprised by?
Well, the most important thing for us, because just 2 nights ago we played our first ever concert, a public concert in China, and in a lot of the world, like in America, the Pet Shop Boys were most famous in the 80s. In China, they didn't used to play pop music on the radio in the 80s, so we wondered whether people would know the music, would want to come and see us. And what the reaction would be like. We were delighted that we got an amazing reaction in Shanghai, and the audience was really up for it and very excited and vocal, and it was a fantastic audience and great concert, and that's what we're here for.
So what was the initial inspiration to come to China as part of your tour?
Oh, well, we were I don't know. Ask the tour manager. We were asked,
Okay, so you were invited, and then...
Yeah, we're doing a world tour, and it's great that it's an interesting tour because we're doing some countries for the first time: China, Philippines, Indonesia. I mean, an amazing thing about the world from musicians' perspective is it's got bigger. There's so many more countries. That in South America we were played in Paraguay. In 10 days' time we're in Poland. We've been to Russia, as well as the countries, the traditional countries for music like Germany, USA, Britain. It is an exciting tour, because we're going to new places.
And you mentioned before that the songs that are hits in the West were different here.
Well, they weren't on there wasn't radio here for them to be played on.
Yeah, and that's one thing I find interesting is that because pop music from the West was not really here in China until very recently, and they're discovering all this music kind of all at the same time, so of course their tastes might be different. So when you were in Shanghai, were any of was the reception to some of your music different than you had expected? Did they like some songs more than others, and what were they?
The overall reaction was very good. It's difficult to we wear these in ears, and I can't really hear anything, and I don't really see much either. So I'm in a bit of a bubble. What was good though was that the audience tended to use these iPads, which they were projecting messages to us. And
they had the Union Jack and light flashing on the iPad.
That was my main awareness of the audience. That was the first time I've seen an audience do that at one of our concerts. And also they had the illuminated batons as well. So.
Okay.
The whole place had a bit of a sort of party atmosphere going on.
Yeah, I like those too. Yeah, I think we could import those into the UK.
Well, next time we'll get one of those instead of a plant.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Could you explain to maybe some people that are watching who don't really know about your music just what kind of style it is? And also back when you started in Chelsea in '81, like what the scene was like there. You know, when you guys were making music for the first time, can you kind of describe the environment and what was happening in their heads?
Well, when we first met in 1981, we were both into electronic music, which was quite a new thing then. You know, Kraftwerk came along in the 70s, and then at that point you had the biggest group in the world almost with the Human League, who were an electronic band, and then you had Depeche Mode who just started, OMD, Soft Cell, and that was, you know, that was the sort of cutting edge scene, if you like. And also we liked the music you might hear in clubs. Hip hop music was just starting from America, with artists like Africa, Bambaataa. We also liked the music of this American New York dance producer called Bobby Orlando. Bobby O, who we met and ended up making our first record with 1983. So what we really wanted to do when we started was to take electronic club music, but also kind of blend that with sort of new wave stroke songwriting. So the lyrics were kind of interesting, controversial, personal, provocative, probably the most important thing. And that was what the project was right at the beginning, and probably what the project still is now.
What was provocative about the lyrics?
Well, you know, we were, this was the early 80s, so it's when the Thatcher period in Britain. And like one of our first songs was I've got the brains, you've got the looks, let's make lots of money. So it was kind of saying what was going on, but doing it with a sort of ironic detachment, as people would say. You know, and then we've written over the years quite a few political songs like that.
I read somewhere a quote from you that you said you guys are anti-rock and roll, or you don't like rock and roll and rockabilly.
Oh, that was ages ago. We've become the epitome of rock and roll.
No, we have.
Just look at our lifestyle.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring
plants.
it up. Yeah, you're just willy-nilly incinerating rubber plants wherever you go.
Food.
Well, I'm just curious if you
we're
feel...
living the dream.
Well, do you feel now that you've won, in a sense? I mean, it seems like rock and roll is on the way out and electric is in.
When we said that was in the mid-80s, and rock music was very, very pompous. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it was. And we didn't really like the sort of rock posturing. That doesn't really seem to exist so much now. So it's not a big issue for us. And in fact, on our new album, Electric, we've covered a song by Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
Called The Last to Die.
But it's an electronic version.
But it sounds like the Pet Shop Boys, but it's by Bruce Springsteen.
And do you speak any Chinese? I want to teach you one phrase. It's quite simple. It's the name of the show in Chinese. It's yin, like yin yang.
Yeah.
Yin. Ni, like the thing that's exposed right now.
Like ni hao.
Patella, I would call it patella.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like ni hao, good.
Yeah.
So yin, ni, r, like the letter R.
Yes.
Yeah. Yin, ni, r, yue.
Yin ni ao ye.
大家好，你现在收看的是
Yin ni ao ye.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Thank you. city is quiet, too cold to walk alone.